around the press is people saying, could we have an Iraq situation where it's not, Iraq's not a pretty place, but so far the possibility of an Al-Qaeda group or some other kind of international terrorist group being based there seems to be, so far, seems to be pretty low. So is that a likely outcome in Afghanistan if the U.S. pulls out? I'm sure it'll be unstable, not very peaceful place, but would it be, I mean, this is really Obama explanation right now, say, well, we could pull out, as bad as it might be, it wouldn't be a base for international terrorism. Is that likely?
I'll be the I'm going to definitely defer to the experts on that. I mean, my, take from, just probably reading the same press and other, blogs and reports is that the Obama administration's position with Iraq has been, it's no longer a direct threat to the U.S. It's there, and that they seem to be adopting that same approach, or at least there seems to be some distancing in the rhetoric of Obama's speeches as well as other top administration officials, particularly with the Taliban and Haqqani networks, and view them more as political challenges than the military threats, and seemed prepared to turn those over with everything else. Now I would say I was comfortable making those comments probably a month or two ago before the increase in the blue on green attacks, as well as the Haqqani network being, getting the FTO status. So I'll be interested to see, but that was kind of my take over the summer, going into the semester, kind of preparing for class, that there seemed to be a lot of distancing in the rhetoric of the Obama administration speeches as to Afghanistan's almost done too. Wartime ends, again, particularly tied in, I think, with the election timeline to be able to say, hey, we ended Iraq, we ended Afghanistan, troops are coming home, we're good. Whether or not the most recent kind of on the ground aspects change that, I'm not sure. That's where I'll turn it over to you.
And I'll tell you that I wrote a paper earlier this year. It was in Orbis with Tom Johnson from the Naval Postgraduate School, a very good Afghan specialist. In this one, I can remember the title, it's more recent, parallels with the past, how the Soviets lost in Afghanistan, how the Americans are losing. That was the title. And we wrote it for the administration, really, and folks like yourself that wanted to look at, well, what's happening with our continued engagement and what's going to happen when we leave. And how difficult it is to leave successfully. My own advice has been declare victory and get out very quickly before anybody can say otherwise, and before Hamid Karzai is hanging from a lamppost in Kabul, because all of that is likely to transpire after we leave. I hate to say that because we've invested so much there, and I'm so fond of Afghanistan, the Afghan people, but the reality is that all of these looming actors are going to be engaged in there in pursuit of their own national interests, using lethal force and using local proxies. And so I think it's very unlikely that it's going to end sort of in a positive, I mean, after our engagement there, it'll end in a positive way. What Amy's just talking about, the green on blue attacks and the upsurge of that and other kind of problems, demonstrate the challenge to our existing strategy, because the president has set a timetable, we have been drawing down, and the specific nature of the strategy is an Afghanization of the force there, kind of the old Vietnamization policy, reheated and served again. And it's difficult because that then does open the door to green on blue attacks, and the American people are saying, my son was killed, by the guys he was actually working with. What the hell's going on here? Excuse me. But anyway, I mean, that's the real challenge. And the end, though, to your real question, it goes back to what we talked about in the first two remarks in particular, and then in the last set of remarks about cyber attacks and so forth. Afghanistan, in other ways, has been meant to be for the United States a platform by which we could prosecute counterterrorism operations in this part of the world. So that can continue probably as long as a government is in place in Kabul that favors the United States. But then you run the risk of all these things that Amy outlined, I think very successfully, if we So I don't think, therefore, that you're going to see this sort of big al-Qaeda threat resurface in Afghanistan. Anyway, it's already moved to Yemen and Pakistan and the Sahel